Hey you, how was your week? Good, I'm glad to hear it. You know what else I'd love to hear? That clicking sound that plays when you subscribe. You know the one. Yeah, that's it. Now let me tell you what I've been doing. When we last left off, Yennefer was tugging our leash towards Vizima to talk to her sugar daddy. The white guy who dances on fun apparently has something to say to us, but he can't say it unless we curtsy just right. Fun fact, failing to display this dumb little bin results in 200 lashes, and with the prices these days, it's no wonder these bitches are so stiff around here, We pick out our favorite pair of panties and make our way yonder to see if we can get the same arrangement that maybe Yennefer has.
You know what they say, can't teach an old wolf new tricks.
And after a soft letdown, Emperor Emir gives us a counteroffer instead.
Silence. My daughter Serena, she's returned, and she's in danger.
Ciri, Geralt and Emir's daughter, has landed back on the continent and the Emperor wants her found. Not only is she back, but she's also hounded by the Wild Hunt. Clearly, no one has showed her the bridge tactic, so she's in real danger here. Naturally, after some snark, we agree to find his daughter, she is our daughter, and we are greeted with the first gut punch of the game.
The gentleman will not understand. Did I not emphasize adequately that one must bow to the Emperor?
Relax, nothing happened.
To the gentleman. But I shall be punished.
Yeah, I don't know why, maybe because of my retail background, but this one kinda hit home for me. We follow Gloomy Gus to the flop house, and Gooseberries here tells us that Ciri has been seen in 3 places. For whatever reason, Ciri decided to stop off in the shithole that is Velen, then was spotted in Novigrad and beautiful Skellige. Yennefer offers her brilliant plan to evenly split the work between us. She would sail off to the as seen in the brochure Skellige, while I get the honor of rummaging around the mud pit and praying Novigrad's water pressure is strong enough to wash away the residual stink and shame that naturally comes with stepping foot into this Florida-esque lands. This plan sucks and the whole scene is kind of a downer for me. At this point I really need something to pick me up, so I hit the Gwent button as soon as possible. Fuck this dude. He beat my ass so many times, I apparently didn't even record the win, I just recorded the losses. But I did indeed eventually beat him and moved on to moving along the path. Our next goal was to jump right down the pipes and search Velen for Ciri. My first movements were to find a particular Nilfgaard spy by the name of Hendrik. Hendrik supposedly had everything we would need. But you see the problem here, this ski resort in the swamps is where Hendrik was staying, and only after Jedi mind tricking the lone villager in town do I find out that the Wild Hunt has already been here. They somehow found out about the spy's info and decided they wanted it for themselves. But in another Achilles heel moment, they didn't find the key in our boy's boot or the barely hidden cellar door. Seemingly otherworldly beings getting stopped at the smallest inconvenience is just so convenient, you know?
What's this? Notes among the ledger entries. Clever.
Thankfully, Hendrik kept a diary, and we can glean a few bits of info off of it. The biggest hints we get are that the drunken swine of a baron at Crow's Perch lodged our girl and that she tussled with a local witch. Having to make a choice on my next move, I decided to ignore the choice altogether and take on a Witcher contract. And on the way to take on said contract and weigh down our pockets a bit, I run into this monster den that I decide to clear out. I'm not sure exactly what popped it, but I somehow managed to get environmentally unfriendly, which is to kill 50 opponents using the environment. The only thing that I can kind of hazard a guess at here is that stabbing someone after they've been knocked down by Ard must count as an environmental kill somehow? I don't know. Either way, I don't look a gift horse in the mouth and move on to our task at hand. The notice we're responding to reads that a man's wife is missing and he'll pay any price for her to be brought back to him. Keyword here is any price. That's enough to catch my interest, so we head to Blackbough to talk to the character Nealon and see what's going on. Nealon tells us he left for a hunt about a week ago, and when he came back, his wife Hannah was missing. The note that she typically leaves on the counter when she runs off with another dude wasn't there, so he was suspecting something may have been up. He tells us that he searched the forest with the other men of the village, and the milkman apparently searched extra hard for some reason, but they found nothing in the woods. We decide to talk to some of her friends first, get a feel for Hannah's headspace at the time.
Hannah keeps to herself mostly. Watches the blacksmith's young'uns at times. And in the village, Glenna, the butcher's wife, she likes her best.
The butcher's wife is a real Karen, but the midgets Hannah would watch from time to time told me something very interesting. Hannah's extracurricular activities may not have actually been with a man this time, and my interest in the case has shot up like 300%. And that's it. The butcher's wife and these 2 kids are Hannah's only friends. I'm starting to realize why she disappeared at this point. She ran off to get herself a life, Jesus. We started our search of the woods by running into a gang of wolves who run my money more than I would like to admit. But once it's nice and safe, Margaret decides she's going to make an appearance and bribe us to stop our search. See, Margaret is Hannah's sister, but I can smell trifling a mile away, so I tell her that she can't pay our price. Unfortunately for Hannah, we find signs of a werewolf all around her last seen location, and at this point I'm starting to think that I'm not going to get that money for bringing her back. There's no way I'm finding all the pieces. Knee deep in the story, we decide to press on when we find this little shack, and this just reeks of something. At first, I thought it was werewolf. I mean, this place has strong wolf vibes. But it turns out it was our second achievement of the video, Bookworm, which is to read 50 books. The book in question that we read was our employer's journal. Turns out this is his hunting cabin, but this is also where he locks himself away during a full moon, and this story is getting darker and darker. We find a cave beneath the shack, obviously the beast's lair, and decide to wait until nightfall. Now, werewolves in The Witcher are some fierce monsters, said to have the bloodlust and primal nature of a wolf and the ruthlessness and cruelty of a human. There's 2 surefire ways to be a werewolf on the continent. You can either be cursed or have a birth similar to orphans. You know, be a child of some were-parents. You can also apparently turn into one by being bitten, but the chances are incredibly slim and you will have a higher likelihood of being inside a werewolf rather than a werewolf being inside of you. Unless the chosen saliva donor is into that sort of thing. Werewolves in our own lives, however, are a bit more complicated, as the belief in werewolves has been one of the oldest folktales known to man. We know for sure a man named Petronius believed in them as he wrote about them, and that was dated to around 66 AD. It's generally believed that the Germanic pagans' worship of the wolf had a huge influence on the creation of these legends, but with such a history, the details tend to get skewed. The only other detail worth mentioning that I learned from this little mythology lesson was that the were people are incredibly backwards. I mean, we have known accounts of weremen in 66 AD, but the first known account of a werewoman was in 1591. I mean, they're better than humans. Women couldn't vote until 1900s generally, but 1500 years of were sausage party? Come on. When nightfall comes, Neelan shows up and doesn't like us propping our feet up. We have some brief words, but ultimately Geralt proves to be too much and Neelan ends up on the floor. And then Margaret barges in to confess her love and beg us to spare him. Dumb bitch ends up confessing more than she meant to, and it turns out she was the woman Hannah was with when she ran off. She brought Hannah to Neelan's shack, trying to separate the two out of jealousy, but all she ended up separating was Hannah's joints from her other joints.
I didn't want her death. You've got to believe me.
I don't. And I'll kill you willingly.
No! Mercy!
Anyways, Neelan's pissed and we find something interesting we need to investigate right outside urgently. Racked with guilt, Neelan commits suicide by Witcher.
Do it. Please.
And we get our reward in the form of the key he had hidden somewhere on his person. Let me tell you, I'm glad I got this snazzy key because the stuff in the chest that this key unlocked proved absolutely unfortunate. Another unfortunate thing that I need to admit is that I am not a smart man. I sometimes get into an altered mindset and tell Sober Donnie to go fuck himself. And that's exactly what I did after that contract. I murdered 5 men in under 10 seconds in this very spot. I was so fast in game that I missed a recording of me unlocking the achievement Butcher of Blaviken. But I came back the next day to commemorate the location, so here you are. Alright, enough stalling, let's go deal with this drunk swine over in Crow's Perch. On the way in, I found out that the Baron's men consist of Temerian deserters, but the sergeant we're following makes a good point.
Temerian army don't exist.
So what are you all doing here?
Had a choice after the Black Ones thrashed us. Let it lie and try to lead normal lives, or continue to resist, join the guerrillas and fight for our beloved Temeria till death do us part. We chose the former.
We walk in on the Baron hosting some unhappy guests, and after the Nilf cunts kick off, the Baron invites us inside and gives us the old hot and cold.
How do you like it here in Velen?
I don't. Swamps, bogs, marshes everywhere.
Exactly.
We both agree Velen's a pile, and the Baron initiates the first part of what I'll be referring to as the Ciri flashbacks. These are the sections of the game where we get told Ciri's story through actually playing it, and I'll be honest, this bitch thick. Her light attacks hit like strong attacks, and her strong attacks are as fast as light attacks, not to mention her ability to zoom around like a meth head. The gist of the flashback is that Ciri was running from something when she runs into this little girl named Gretka. Being the good Samaritan she is, she decides to help the little girl as there's wolves about, and that could be dangerous for a little girl. Oh, Jesus Christ. So there's definitely more than wolves out in this forest. Two things, actually. Solid one-liners.
Why are you digging through his belly?
Would you mind making certain your laces are tied?
And something called the Wolf King. From the name and the oil it wants us to make, we can be certain that this is a werewolf of some sort, and as expected, that's what we find inches away from eating this dunce. But, like I said earlier, Ciri's nutty, so this fight should be a breeze. Like I said, a breeze. After we save Dummy, he leads Ciri to the Baron to see if he'd help, and he does. That's all the Baron has to tell Geralt for now.
I propose an exchange. Find my loved ones, and I shall tell you about the girl you seek. All I know.
See, this wouldn't be a great RPG unless every singular person you need something from also needs something from you. The Baron's wife and daughter are missing and he wants them found. And with my balls in a vice, I'm having a hard time telling him no. My first step is to investigate the wife's room, and we find evidence of a non-freaky mix-up, and also an amulet on the stairwell. We somehow decide the amulet must have been Anna's, the Baron's wife, and not her attackers, and get told by the Baron there are two people nearby who could have made it. An old wise man who's been here for forever, and a new to the area witch. From here we need to visit both to see who made it and why, but fuck me, I need a break from this doofus. On the right end, I spotted a notice about some monster prowling outside of Novigrad, so let's go take care of that. Now, the contract is pretty straightforward. Whatever prowls the outskirts of Novigrad has been attacking the transport for the Redanian army, and the patrol sent to see what the creature was never came back. Sounds simple enough, so we take a ride over to the high road and find some interesting tracks. After following the tracks, the monster turns out to have pointy ears and an attitude.
One step more and you'll gain a new hole in your head, Dwan. What do you seek here? Speak!
We cooperate with the prick to speak to his leader, and since they walk on two legs, we might be able to speak some sense into them.
And we'll not stop attacking those transports. We must eat, same as you. So you have a choice. Leave now and forget what you've seen, or die.
Turns out that is not the case, but you know what? It's not my deal, man. I let the elves do whatever they want, but I do keep in mind that whole holier-than-thou attitude all of them had towards me.
There's no beast in the woods, just Squire Tau.
So, you got them?
Elves aren't monsters, so no. But I won't cry if anything happens to them.
Back onto the Baron nonsense, we decide to make him pay for this little setup we have here, and we take his best Gwyn card. Feeling satisfied with my small victory, I move out to start the task he wrote me into. First stop is the wise man Anna may have gotten the amulet from, a man known as the Peller. On my way in, I get some proof that the Peller might not be so great at his job. We save the Peller from the can of ass whooping he pulled out of the pantry, and get graced with a conversation with this lunatic.
Not old. 'Tis he the Peller awaits.
He did indeed make the amulet we found, but doesn't know where the Baron's family would have run off to. He does give us an offer the game doesn't allow us to refuse though. If we save his pet goat Princess, he'll do some malarkey to get the spirits talking. Listen, any goat section of a game is going to be an annoying one, I guarantee it, and Geralt sums up my feelings best.
Bear, run, you stupid piece of shit.
We save the goat and the Peller does his magic to find out that Anna and Tamara, the Baron's daughter, aren't nearby but that another child is. Delving deeper into the topic reveals that Anna was pregnant and that the Baron is an abusive drunk. Something happened that caused Anna to miscarry, and what remained after the girls left became a botchling.
A child that lives not, yet did not die.
For those of you who are unaware of botchlings, in the game they're quite nasty. Botchlings resemble a deformed fetus and feed on the blood of pregnant women until both the women and their child are dead. Spawned from an improper burial of unwanted stillborns, an important fact to note here is that botchlings are cursed beings. While very rare, witchers have transformed botchlings into lubberkin by performing a naming ritual and giving the botchling a proper burial. Now, botchlings are the witcher version of a poroniec. This Polish legend tells of an incredibly hostile demon born from stillborn fetuses that are improperly buried. And just like in The Witcher, the poroniec could be avoided by burying the stillborn under the threshold of its family home, turning the spirit instead into a klobuk, a protective spirit mirrored by the in-game lubberkin. To sum it up, botchling's bad, and the kind of bad that a witcher has to deal with. We ride out to Crow's Perch to find it on fire. Surprise, surprise, we can't have anything nice in this shithole.
See what I can do.
We brave the flames to save this dope, and immediately get to insulting the Baron. Turns out, dude's fists are heavier than you would expect. But in the end, we end up nearly drowning the dude to calm him down. We bring him inside for an interrogation, and the Baron tells us that the mix-up upstairs was between him and Anna. They'd been fighting because she's loose and he's a cuck. She ends up smacking him in the head and knocking him out, and when he awakes in the morning, the girls have already fled. The stillborn was tossed in a shallow grave, and the Baron sat and waited for his women to return home. We inform the Baron how absolutely dim he is, and let him know that we can lift the curse he caused by giving the botchling a name and burying it, but his lazy ass was going to be doing it.
Do I take a shovel to dig up the grave?
We both wait till nightfall, and the Baron leads us to that shallow grave, and let me tell you something, this thing is gnarly. Seriously, it looks like a baby Baron that had been birthed by a wood chipper, but it's not us holding it, so we press on. We fight some wraiths because this is Witcher 3 and wraiths are the default, and the Baron lays his would-be child to rest with the name Dea. After a day's wait, we find ourselves with a broken curse and a helpful lubberkin, who leads us down the path that Anna and Tamara both followed when they made their escape. The path leads us north to a suspiciously rapey shack, inhabited by a creepy little backwoods family. They lie about having any dealings with Anna and Tamara, and they would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids.
That sir came at night, right, Mummy? Quiet, boy.
Turns out they did help the girls escape, but only saved Tamara as Anna was snatched by a beast from the woods.
A beast jumped out of the woods, big as a barn, with horns and 2 burning coals for eyes. I thought I was done for. Beast attacked Mrs. Anna's horse, ripped its head off, carried her off into the woods.
Man, it's always the fucking elves. We report this to the Baron, and he's real dickish about us not having the girls in tow. He does give us our next Ciri flashback, telling us how she beat him in a race and they were attacked by a basilisk, but leaves it on a cliffhanger as bait. In his eyes, Geralt has yet to earn the whole story, and to finish getting our info, we need to find Tamara in person and bring Anna back.
You're a fast learner. You'll know the rest once you find my wife.
Working on it.
And making piss-poor progress.
Tamara is a little west in Oxenfurt, but I did get a little distracted on the way over. Now is a good time to mention that my favorite monster I've found in this game so far are trolls. I mean, just listen to this guy.
Me, God boats, rich say, but no wood for to make a fence. Their boats, I, so me fence make a boat. Boats, God boats.
We help our troll buddy out and move into Oxenfurt to talk with Tamara. Guess what? She's not exactly keen on going back to her abusive father.
You can tell him I'm alive and I'm never coming back.
And we're pretty much out of leads on Anna. I sat for a few and pondered my options, and then came to the only viable decision in such a time of uncertainty. I need to fatten my sack with crowns doing some contracts. See, we found a letter asking for help with a Jenny of the Woods, some sort of specter that inhabits the fields, so we saddle up and head over to the village of Midcopse to speak with the elderman Bolko. Bolko lets us know that the only dude who has seen the wraith died this morning, naturally. He points us to a lady named Agneta, who gives us an important clue to what the wraith might be, the fact that it appears just after twilight. We search the fields and conclude that Jenny of the Woods is a night wraith. I'm just surprised the villagers are dying. I'd assume all that armor on the Wraith would make it really noisy, so you could hear him and just run away, but whatever. As far as the lore of this particular Wraith, it doesn't seem to be specifically inspired by anything. Honestly, the Night Wraith is just the opposite generic NPC version of the Noon Wraith. Only shows up at night, and the movesets to my knowledge are the exact same as any other specialty Wraith. So I won't spend any longer than that explaining the creature, as it's a quick kill anyways. We wait till midnight, and I turn Jenny of the Woods into Jenny of the Wounds, and with the monster slain, we cash in on our reward. But do you see this? 270 crowns? I can't move forward scrapping by on this. We head back to Crow's Perch to take a contract I noticed the last time I was there. See, Chet here has a shrieker problem.
Heard you have a problem. The monster you call a shrieker.
So I told him to get divorced. Anyways, the beast he calls a shrieker has been terrorizing the villagers around Crow's Perch, and a local hunter decided enough's enough and that he would teach this monster a lesson. The only lesson he taught that day was teaching his son how to be an orphan. Now, little orphan Andy is the only one who's actually laid eyes on the beast, and he conveniently stays in Chet's backyard. We ignore the chains around his ankles and how gaunt his cheekbones are, and figure out what the little guy's seen. He tells us a story, and we head off to where he saw his father die. His father did actually get his licks in, turns out, and it leaves a pretty easy trail for us to follow. Now, we've mentioned the basilisk earlier in Ciri's second flashback, and we are currently about to be facing down a cockatrice, so I want to take a moment and kind of give you a rundown on the two beasts. In-game, the basilisk is a draconid creature capable of flight and is highly venomous. The cockatrice, on the other hand, is not a draconid. This is actually a bird-draconid hybrid. These creatures are honestly quite similar, and that's because they are sort of the extremes of the same creature in real life. See, the cockatrice, also known as a basilisk in Hellenistic times, was a dragon-esque serpent with a rooster head. The depictions of them vary, with some of them being more bird-like, such as our in-game cockatrice, and some of them being more serpent-like, such as the in-game basilisk. With all that being said, we flush the cockatrice out of its cave, and then the fight plays very similarly to the griffin we fought last episode, minus all the deaths. With the beast slain, we ride out to collect our reward,
Shrieker won't trouble you anymore.
and our final achievement of the video, Shrieker, which is for completing this specific contract. We are also given the option to donate the coin to Orphan Andy, but I came here for a reason, so I'll just leave that for you to draw your own conclusions. And that about wraps us up for the episode. We completed a good amount of achievements this go around. Environmentally Unfriendly, Bookworm, Butcher of Blaviken, and the Shrieker. And you know what? I'll give you another one, Fire in the Hole. Perfectly recorded and edited. As always, thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you have a good week.